Welcome back to the Fractured and Alterac Valley Grid and Go card review stream, YouTube video, podcast, like board. Is that hooked up?
Merps, let's talk about Warlock. And if you have just been playing dual class arena, I'm sure you're very familiar with Warlocks because the Warlock hero power was so good during this previous meta. Warlocks have been good for a while, but once again, it goes to this theme of like, man, being able to extend the game and then being able to draw cards. You have your defensive tools, and then you have like the Lion's Guard, and then you also have these ways to just heal and then taunt and everything. Really, really good. And then unlike other classes that have to draw cards fairly, you can keep tapping. So yes. Let's talk about Warlock. Have they gotten insane cards? What's the first card?
The first card is A tier. They have two A tier cards and two B tier cards, and then it kind of drops off a cliff. So
Yeah.
this is definitely one of those, like, you have good cards, you have bad cards. Let's look at the good cards. The good cards are good. They're A tier. They're like, as good as class cards should get. The first one is Hollow Abomination, 5 mana, 2/8. Battle Cry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So it's a 2/8 that deals 1 damage to everything. All the enemy minions, which is already really good. Like, think of the dragon that Scorcher. That was a 3/6 instead of a 2/8, so it's not even as good of a body. And it dealt 1 damage to everything, not just the enemies. So we're already doing really well here. And Scorcher is a decent card, even today. On top of all this, this card has Honorable Kill, gain the minion's attack. Remember, Honorable Kill can be triggered multiple times. It's not a one-shot thing. So whatever you kill, all the things you kill, and even if you kill it after this, right? It doesn't have to just be the battle cry that kills. You can attack stuff with the next turn, kill it, and then get the attack too.
Yep. So look, it's very good. I don't want you guys being jaded and now thinking A tier cards aren't good. Like, remember before this, we might have had expansions, or we did have expansions, basically with like one S tier card, no S tier cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just had one. United and Stormwind had no S tier cards.
No S tier
Barons
cards.
only had one and it was a ban card, so it effectively had no S tier cards in the arena.
So look, this is a very very good card. A means it's a card that, like Adukta says, you probably might look at it and be like, well, I don't want this card in arena, and I kind of don't want this card in arena either. But it is. I think you can clearly see a difference between this and like the S and S plus cards as well. So it's a busted card, but I'm like, yeah, it's not just all purpose. Always be able to use it and get like extreme maximum amounts of value. It is a bit more situational, and that's fine. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. It's good. You will get value from it eventually. It's not necessarily a 5-drop. In fact, I would recommend that you wait to get some value out of it. Value could be very good. The one redeeming quality about it is how often can you really deal 1 damage to stuff and kill more than one thing of any meaning?
Yeah.
Just think back to it. You usually use it to target one thing that you want to. Which, to be fair, if you get it for this card, you're doing real well because now you also have a big body on the board. But again, this is A tier. It's supposed to be busted, and it is busted. It's just not single-handedly game-winning in almost all situations busted.
Yep.
All right. Next card is also A tier, and it is a rare card, rare spell, Fel Spell. 3 mana, full-blown evil. Deal 5 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions. Repeatable this turn.
Did they just hate Echo? I'm like, what? Why don't they just call it Echo? Are we just done with Echo?
We're done with Echo. Echo was only one expansion.
Yeah, but we can't use the keyword again.
Nope, it's too
I
confusing.
don't get it. Oh, okay. All right, but I like this card a lot. I think I had to get you to raise it a little bit, but I love this card. I love how it deals exact damage. I love how you can make it be a small card. You can make it be a big card. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I love.
Yep. It's also a rare Warlock card that's single sided. This is what's happening, right? Like you see with the other card, with Hollow Abomination too, you're getting some single sided board clarity removal for Warlock. And that is very different than the double sided stuff that they normally have. And it is a lot better because Warlocks do Zoo very well. And Zoo puts you on the board, which makes it really awkward to Hellfire your own board, right? But now you have support for Zoo on multi targets. So this is huge. And this one scales up to 15 damage for 9 mana. Split exactly how, like, not exactly how you want, but if they have 15 or less health, right, then it's so yeah, so this is a very good card. It's not higher than this. I mean, A tier is already ridiculous, but it's not higher than this because ultimately it still only just removes stuff. Like to get higher than A tier, you really have to remove stuff and put a body down, or you have to remove more than like 15 damage, right? Like 15 damage may seem like a lot, but these days there's some scary stuff that people can put out.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Those are the best cards. We are going into the B tier. B tier. First card we have is Grave Defiler. Grave Defiler is a 1 mana 2/1 battle cry. Copy a Fel spell in your hand. You're gonna have some Fel spells. You know, we just talked about a Fel spell. Uh, so this is going to be one of those cards that like you kind of want to hold it, and like
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing playing a 1 mana 2/1 anyways, right? So it's good. It's quite good. Like copying a good spell, a good Fel spell that you chose to draft is really nice.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at.
Rusticon Tamer is like a similar card, but for like Hunter, and it copies a beast in your hand, and that card's ridiculous. That card's better than this one, mostly because this is a 1 mana 2/1.
Hmm.
Like whatever else you can do with this card, however much crap you add onto it, it's still a 1 mana 2/1. Aren't like great body.
Yep.
So yeah, so you want to use this for its ability more than for the body.
So remember, yeah, Full Blown Evil is a Fel spell. And speaking of Fel spells, the next card that we rated, a B, is Fel Fire in the Hole. This is an epic Fel spell. It is 5 mana. Draw a spell and deal 2 damage to all enemies. It doesn't clear. I'm always weirded out when Warlock things aren't double sided,
Yeah.
and it's just single sided. I'm like, that's weird. Draw a spell and deal 2 damage to all enemies. If it's a Fel spell, deal one more. You can just average it out. It's like, well, first of all, do you need the damage? And then if you do, you're like, well, what spells do I have left? And you can just sort of see. But this is good because you're not just dealing the damage; you're drawing another spell. Spells that you have drafted are quite good.
Hmm.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
Like
It's
it's a
a
good
it's an
amount of damage.
overpriced double sided removal that has RNG aspect to it, so all of
Well,
that
it's
is
not double
bad.
sided. It's not double sided.
Oh, sorry, single sided removal. Yeah, but the draw a spell part is really where this kicks in. The draw a
Yep.
spell part is so clutch for Warlock.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna talk about the legendary next. It's C. Everything else is below a C. So let's talk about the legendary. This legendary is a legendary spell. It is not a minion. It is a 4 mana shadow spell. Tamsin's Spy Luck. Uh, Begins with a P, has a bunch of Y's. Um, and what it does is you discover a friendly Death Rattle minion that died this game. Give your minions its Death Rattle. So it's a buff all spell, like buff all things on your side of the board, and it gives them a Death Rattle. You get to discover a friendly Death Rattle. You probably didn't have 3 Death Rattle minions die this game, most likely. So you really just get to pick the best one of all the ones that have died. The problem, of course, is that you actually need a good Death Rattle to have died, and then you need a whole board in which you can buff this. So there's a lot of conditionals happening here, but you have a lot of control over this.
Okay. So yeah, about this card. What was the card again?
It's Tams's P with Y's and like lactating.
Nailed it.
There's a lactate in there.
Okay, so the lactating potion. Remember, don't think about the best case scenario. I don't know why people always think about Proto Drake. I'm like, yes, Proto Drake exists. No, it's not always going to happen. Warlock is not a death rattle centric class. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not really. So you're kind of relying on neutral death rattles, in which case that's not great. But yeah, like you will have a board to do this with a decent amount of times. It's really the death rattle that's kind of tough, or like a
Mm-hmm.
worthy death rattle that's kind of tough.
Yep. All right. Well, that's the legendary spell that you probably won't see that often, and it's only a C. It's like barely better than a Yeti. Now we're gonna get into some bad cards. First one is a D plus, so just a little below a Yeti. It's Fellwalker. It's a 6 mana, 3/7 demon that has taunt. So understated. Battlecry, cast the highest cost Fel spell from your hand. Okay. So you need a Fel spell in your hand. That's not that easy to get. Then it has to basically have no target because it's going to random target it. So good luck.
I don't think more needs to be said about this one.
Yep. Like, I mean, it could be good, right? Like, if you have Fel Fire in the hole or something.
Sure.
But yeah. Next is 3 cards that are all D tier, so they're all bad cards. We're just gonna go through them. First, Seeds of Destruction, 2 mana Fel spell. Shuffle 4 Rifts into your deck. They summon a 3/3 Dread Imp when drawn. No. It's not enough to shuffle into your deck. I know you can draw cards because you're a Warlock, but even if you get it, they just summon a 3/3, and 3/3s are bad. And your odds of getting them are actually, like, getting a lot of them are actually very low.
Yep.
Next, Desecrated Graveyard. This is the Warlock objective. 3 mana. At the end of your turn, destroy your lowest attack minion to summon a 4/4 Shade. Last 3 turns. So you're at most getting 3 4/4 Shades, and you are at least destroying 3 of your smallest minions. Like, you need eggs or something to make this work. Even if you're killing like 1/1s or 2/2s or like whatever, you're not getting that much value.
You have to play really low. Like, I could see this working sometimes. There's a reason it's not F, right? It's like definitely not an F.
Yeah, because you can control it, right? It's at the end of your turn, so you can just make sure you have 1-drops that you could put out every single turn to feed this graveyard.
But I don't see it being consistently good, and this is one in which you kind of have to draft around. But like, don't draft around this.
Yeah.
This is bad. Yeah, it's a solid D.
Like, you really do. Like, I think even if you're killing your own 2/2s, this is a bad card. Like, you have to kill something that is worse than a 2/2 for all 3 turns on average.
Yep.
All right. We are now at the final card. The final card is a Sacrificial Summoner. It's an epic card. You won't see it much. It's a 3 mana 3/3. 3 mana 3/3s are bad. Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion. Summon a minion from your deck that costs 1 more. No. Incredibly situational. You won't need to destroy like a damaged minion or a minion with a battle cry. The minion from your deck that you summon has to not have a battle cry. Like, this is some constructed crap.
Basically. Yeah. That's good. That's enough analysis for me as well.
All right. Well, I think the big thing that's happening here is the introduction of like these single-sided removals. Fel Fire in the hole. You got full-blown evil. You have the Hollow Abomination. You're getting a lot of support for board clears that are single-sided in this set. Now, in Arena, one of them's a rare, one of them's an epic, and the lowest damaging one is the common one. So the impact is probably not like super cohesive, but it is an interesting direction to go with Warlock.
It's an interesting one. It's not new. And remember, the cards that are coming back, I was saying, I'm just like, it doesn't do anything new. It's like, yeah, for example, they get back Brittlebone Destroyer. Is that good? That's good.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything new. Like what? They Warlock had trouble removing before? That's hilarious. Uh, so a lot of these things that you're looking at in terms of the new stuff that they got or the old stuff that's returning, I'm like, it doesn't move the needle for Warlock. So it just depends once again on how they adjust. It's like, well, if they adjust it very favorably for Warlocks, sure, they can do what they always do, which is tap, outvalue, have a million ways to remove. And then if it goes unfavorably, well, we know exactly how it turns out because they're not getting any new tools. It's not like this new freeze shaman thing that they never had before.
Yep.
Warlock is the same old.
Yep. Zoo's going to be a bit more powerful than it normally is. But the problem with Warlock in this meta is everybody has a lot of cards, so you're kind of losing a little bit of your unique hero power status. But Zoo should be good. Zoo should be hard to challenge for other classes because they don't really have, like, Merps keeps making this distinction where you're not getting a lot of tempo, you're getting things that can take advantage of early game tempo maybe for some of the classes. So Warlocks don't get any of that, but Warlocks just naturally are a good Zoo class. So if you can get Zoo set up, you can now have some board cleary stuff to like support you. Overall, it's not the most exciting package for Warlock, but it's Warlock. You know, never count them out. All right. That's it for Warlock. We're going to save all the shoutouts for the very last video, which is going to be Warrior, and that's coming up next. Until then, this is Adwicta.
This is Merp. See you guys.